Excellencies, allow me to extend my gratitude to the government of Sultanate of Oman and the India Foundation for the warm and gracious hospitality extended to my delegation and I. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, everywhere we look, global mistrust is growing. Divisions are deepening, conflicts are raging. The climate of cooperation, which once seemed to unite us, is now clouded with suspicion. The world is witnessing a rising trend of isolationist rhetoric and increasing uncertainties about the future of multilateralism. The system where our shared interests converge, the system where dialogue, compromise, and collaboration come together, and the system where peace, inclusivity, and sustainability intertwine. This is the system facing threat. Now the question is multilateralism truly shifting from a point of commonality to contention? And what does it mean for us, the developing countries? The truth is, nearly 80 years ago, 51 countries made the choice for multilateralism. And today, we must not fail to make that bold choice again. Even as imperfect as it is, it carries immense significance and strategic value, especially for developing countries that need each other. More so for small countries like Maldives. If we take a look at why there is mistrust and perhaps a certain skepticism in the system, we can identify some trends, prime of which is the participation and involvement of developing countries, the so-called Global South, in global decision-making. As a believer in the multilateral system, we recognize the urgent need of reinforcing the United Nations, the epitome of multilateralism. This is why the Maldivian President, Dr. Mohamed Moise, called for a reformed, revitalized, and representative UN at the General Debate of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly. Especially the United Nations Security Council. The discussion on Security Council reforms has gone on for far too long. We need decision now. President Dr. Mohamed Moise highlighted three main changes to the Council. First, he called to make it more representative. This means an expanded council both in permanent and non-permanent categories. This means a non-permanent rotating seat for small island developing states, a group that makes up 20% of the UN membership, and yet have left out of decision-making rooms for far too long. This means correcting the historic injustices facing against these countries. This means having a council that is reflective of the current realities of the world, the UN membership. Second, he called to abolish the veto. The veto paralyzes the Council from taking action, something we have seen far too clearly with Gaza in recent months. And because the veto inhibits actions, it makes the Council ineffective and ultimately leads to those looking to the United Nations for solution to lose hope. Third, he called for the Council to consider new and emerging threats, non-traditional interests, specifically non-traditional threats, climate change, water scarcity, pandemics, depletion of natural resources. All of these have shown to cause conflicts. If the Council does not start to consider these threats, it will soon become irrelevant. The second trend we can identify is that the need for cooperation is higher than ever. Connecting Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, the Maldivian waters are home to key maritime routes. Our strategic location at the heart of the Indian Ocean makes us a key player in global maritime trade and commerce. But it also exposes us to security and development threats, such as the climate crisis, geopolitical tensions, cyber attacks, and crimes at sea, including terrorism, piracy, and IIU fishing. An independent and strong Maldives and a unified approach are key to maintaining the order in the Indian Ocean. This is why the Maldives is working closely with its neighbors at a bilateral and regional level. While a regional solution is essential, it alone is not sufficient. Global challenges like these demand global solutions. It needs to be viewed in a broader sense. These challenges are not limited to us, but common to our neighbors and beyond. For example, the Maldives contributes a minuscule amount of emissions compared to the global levels, yet we are on the front line of climate change and climate emergency. So today's challenges, we cannot go about it in isolation. When we reduce emissions in our own countries, that impacts all of us. When we stop deadly communicable diseases from spreading in our own countries, it impacts all of us. When we have instability in one part of the world, it impacts global supply chain. It drives to how connected we are, how global cooperation is necessary. This is where the developing countries can play a greater role. South-South cooperation has been a cornerstone of the development support for many years. But today, this is more necessary than ever. We need to help each other, support each other, share our experience with each other too. This also circles back to the need for enhancing developing countries' leadership and engagement in the decisions and the decision-making processes pertaining the issues. No one knows the developing countries' situation better than the developing countries themselves. We jointly represent the vast majority of the world's population. That makes our voice as powerful as any other. It is no doubt that the developing countries exhibit stronger leadership and resilience, which may have demonstrated through its ability to adapt and foster solutions important to navigate uncertain situations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the threats facing us does not end at our shores alone, and often are not of our making. The international financial system, for example, is structurally too weak to offer its support of the countries that needs it the most. With the rise in debt burden and declining of the funding for sustainable development, the most in need of support are being tested time after time. The Pact of the Future adopted at the 2024 Summit of the Future revived our hope for a renewed system that better captures the new realities of the developing countries. We are determined to work together to implement this outcome document. Partnerships that understand the reality and push us to work together towards a common goal is a must when sailing against the wind. We are committed to work together to realize our shared vision for a more peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable Indian Ocean. I thank you all.